Kareem. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasul Kareem. We're discussing the chapter of the miracles of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Miracles are those things that we leaves you without a logical explanation. And in particular, we were discussing the incident of Suraqat ibn Malik al-Juhsham, that on the Hijrat when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and as Abu Bakr were traveling, he came in pursuit of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then his horse sunk into the ground unto the belly. In other words, all the feet, all 4 feet. So we were just, that was what that was the miracle. We were just doing some research. You can say, lughwi tahqiq, some explanation with regards to the word. The next word we're looking is irtawa yartawi. I told you that this rawaya, to become satiated. So if ta'ala scale irtawa yartawi, which means now that to give water. So in this context, it means you would give water for drinking and also for ablution, etc. Then the full name of this person was Suraqah ibn Malik al-Ju'sham al-Mudlaji. Some interesting facts about him. When he saw this miracle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the ground was hard, the ground was solid, and all of a sudden his horse is sinking to the ground. He knew that this is not an ordinary person, right? He knew this is something out of the ordinary. So then he immediately asked for forgiveness from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because I understood this is not a ordinary person, right? An interesting thing here is this also, that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wrote a letter for him. He wrote, like you can say, what you can say, an agreement for him. And what did this agreement include? That when the Muslims eventually conquers Makkah, because remember, he could see now that this is not an ordinary person. This is somebody out of the ordinary. But he never accepted Islam at this point in time. That when the Muslims eventually return victorious to Makkah al-Mukarramah, then I must be given amnesty. An interesting thing is, Nabi Sallallahu also promised him and written on that letter that the day the Muslims conquer Persia, he will receive the bangles of the Kisra. And it happened as such. Umar radiallahu ta'ala, the Persian Empire was conquered. Remember after Bayatul Ridwan or Sulh Hudaybiyah, Nabi Sallallahu began writing the letters to all the foreign countries, inviting them to Islam. Remember? So Nabi Sallallahu also invited the Persians, the Kisra. And what he done, he tore up the letter of Rasulullah Sallallahu. And Nabi Sallallahu said, Mazzak Allah. May Allah Ta'ala tear him up. May Allah Ta'ala destroy him like how he destroyed my letter. Then he was killed by his own son. And he also left some poison, concealed some poison, that if my son does something to me, then he will also die of the poison. So like that, the Persian Empire also came to its end. And that's how the treasures came into the hands of the Muslims. So in the time of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the bangles came as Marul Ghanimat, and it was given to Suraqat ibn Malik as per the promise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right. So that is also a miracle in itself. That is also a miracle how the prediction of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam manifested itself. Right. Utina, I told you, majhul, it has come to us. Then fartapamat, I told you that the horse sunk in the earth. Fartatamat bihi farasuhu ila batnihi fi jaladim min al-ardi. Jalad, refer to, it sunk into the hard earth. So that was a miracle, right? Then there's some lughwi tahqiq. I told you this part here, when he said, when Suraka said, when he met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, He said, "Fallahu lakuma an arudda ankuma at-talab." I told you the understood meaning is, look here, I will, you people make dua for me, and then in return, what I will do, I will repel people. If anybody come looking for you, I will tell them, look here, there's nobody here, don't waste your time. So the full meaning is Allahu kafirun alayya lakuma alla ahima ba'da dhalika li ghadrikuma. Allah Ta'ala is my guarantor. Allah Ta'ala is the guarantor for me in your favor that I will not intend after this to deceive you. In other words, I will look after your interests. I give a promise to Allah Ta'ala. That is talab, talab means ta'aqub, right? And the interesting thing here is, why was he after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? That Abu Jahl, remember, this is interesting. Despite them not wanting to accept Islam, they could see the potency of Islam. They could see the beauty of Islam. They could see that this in future will become a force to reckon with. Hence, they did not want Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to leave Makkah al-Mukarramah. They knew it would come back to haunt us. And it happened as such. That's why they didn't only want Rasulullah out, they wanted him destroyed as well. Are you with me? That's why they put a bounty of 100 camels on his head. Now that is a lot of money. Even today's day and age, I think, for the penalty in Hajj, if a woman or a man does the tawafi ziyarah in Tanabat, the penalty is one budana, isn't it? It's one camel. I think there were 40,000, 50,000 rand. So here you got 100 camels is how much? Will be 4 million rand. So in today's day and age, he had a bounty of like 4 million rand on his head. And so Suraqat ibn Malik al-Juhsham, he came in pursuit of that bounty when this miracle played out. And it was this reason that the kuffar, the mushrikeen of Quraysh, were searching for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is why the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, remember the story, he put Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu to sleep on his bed, and he slept out at night time. He recited this verse, فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. And then فَأَغْشَيْنَا, we concealed them so they could not see. So when the Quraysh in the morning came, they were surprised to see as Ali was sleeping there. Then the first night, instead of traveling, everybody expected him to travel the first night or to leave, but they hid out in the cave. And then the son of Abu Bakr would graze his cattle around there, or his sheep, goats, to conceal the footprints. And then this transpired after that. So yeah, so the miracle there, or the relevance of the hadith of the Bab, is the sinking of the horse feet in the ground, and then also the prediction of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, look here, we will one day conquer Persia, etc. The treasures will come. And there are many other hadith also where Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam very confidently spoke about the conquest of Persia. That's a miracle. Imagine you barely got something to eat. You barely got something to eat. But here you got the confidence to say that one day we're going to conquer the superpowers of the world. That shows you that he has some type of information from the unseen. Allah Ta'ala supplied him. It shows it was a miracle. Anyway, read the next riwayat, inshallah. Yesterday, Luqman, read Bismillah. Okay, this is a very interesting hadith here. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن أنس, narrated on the authority of Anas, قال سمع عبد الله بن سلام. He's saying that, sorry, سمع Abdullah ibn Salam. He said Abdullah ibn Salam heard بمقدم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, about the arrival of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So remember here now, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we discussed this several times. His description was in all the previous books that the final prophet would come. And those who were well grounded in the previous scriptures from amongst the Christians, the Jews, etc., when they saw and they heard about, in fact, even before Nabi Salsam, this is interesting. If you study the books of history, etc., even before Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made his call, even before this is, uh, uh, recorded clearly, even before Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made his call to Nubuwwat, people were already waiting. The scholars were already waiting because all the signs that it was mentioned in the Torah, in the Injil, that this will be the condition of the world, etc., etc., and this is what will be happening. So they were already waiting that any time now the person will appear. So Abdullah ibn Salam was also a scholar from amongst the Jews, and he also um, might have seen now the time is ready, the time is right now for the final prophet to come. That is why, and then he heard obviously that Nabi Sallallahu is coming from, he's left Makkah al Mukarramah and he's on his way to Medina. So they were excited now that the time we have been waiting for is come, right? So if we need bin Maqdami Rasulullah, he heard about the arrival of Rasulullah, carry on, right? Whilst he was in his land, so he was يحترف what's it? يخترف or يحترف. He was working his land, right? Carry on, right? So now obviously they heard now that the prophet is coming, but they need to test and see is he really the prophet. فأتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. He came to Nabi. So carry on. Yeah, so he said, look here. وقال إني سائلك عن ثلاث لا يعلمهن إلا نبي. I want to ask you three questions, right? And these three questions are such that nobody will know the answer except a Nabi. So probably it might have been in the previous scriptures that look here, this is a question, you must ask him this question. He is able to give a good answer, a satisfactory answer, then that means he is a Nabi. Nobody can answer this. So already he had his guidance that you ask him these questions, and if he answers these questions good enough, that means he is a Nabi, right? So he said, I want to ask you three questions. Carry on. Right. فَمَا أَوَّلُ أَشْرَاطِ السَّاعَةِ. What is the first sign of Qiyamah? We'll do this here. This doesn't refer to now the Qiyamah, the signs that we speak about, like Nabi Sallallahu arrival, all that. This here, what he means is, what is the first thing that will, when Qiyamah start? What is the first thing that will happen, right? Right? وَمَا أَوَّلُ طَعَامِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. There is another riwayat also, where a separate person also asked Rasulullah, what is the first food of the people of Jannah? Right? Interesting. وَمَا يَنْزِئُ الْوَلَدَ إِلَىٰ أَبِيهِ أَوْ إِلَىٰ أُمِّهِ. What is it that pulls the child to his mother or to his father? And here is not a resemblance. Sometimes, when a child is born, sometimes the child has the features of the father, sometimes the child has the feature of the mother, etc. So what is the factor that right shows that the child resembles the father, or what is the determining factor the child resembles the mother? Right, carry on. So here, interesting, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't know the answer to this question, right? Until Jibreel Amin informed him. And he never answered out of his own until he got the information. So, قال أخبرني بهن جبرائيل آنفا. That he said that if Jibreel Amin just inform me now, right? Right? Okay, so the first, I told you here, don't write it Ashrata, a sign. The first happening, you can say, the first happening of Qiyamah is a fire that will drive the people from the east to the west. Now, we've done this in detail when we done Babu Ashrati Sa'ah. Remember, we said, according to some riwayat, that Hashar will take place in, some riwayat said it will take place in Arafat, some riwayat said it will take place in Syria, etc. So the fire will drive the people to this place here. Remember, we said some people will be moving at different speeds, some people will be moving, and then تقيل حيث تقيل حيث يقال etc. All those riwayat that when the fire stops, people will rest and the fire will come, it will drive them again. So all of that details is contained in that bab, right? So the fire will drive people, it will take them to the place of Hashar, which will be on this dunya, it will be in Arafah, it will be in Syria, etc. So this is the first happening of Qiyamah, right? Carry on. Then so Nabi Sallallahu answered that correctly, right? Right. وأما أول طعام يأكل أهل الجنة فزيادة كبد حوت. As for the first food that the people of Jannat will eat it, it is the extra of the liver of a fish. So you can imagine how huge this fish is, that the liver is so huge. And forget about the liver, the extra portion on the liver, that will be sufficient to feed entire of mankind, right? So, وأما أول طعام يأكل أهل الجنة فزيادة كبد حوت. Carry on. So see, yeah. So I told you that the question is that that question was there. What what draws a child to his father, and what draws a child to his mother? And if you listen carefully, I translate as what draws the resemblance. Why? That's one. But there's a bit more explanation when we do the shara, but for the timing, just take it to mean this. So also take this to mean this. So إذا سبق ماء الرجل ماء المرأة نزع الولد. Right. If the water of a man precedes the water of a woman, نزع الولد, then that water that comes first during copulation, the water that comes out first, right? That will draw, right? Whatever water comes first, the child will resemble that person, right? Carry on, right? So yeah, وإذا سبق ماء المرأة, when the outwardly it seems here, if it's not in zal, whoever has inzal first. If the man inzal first, then the child will look like the father. If the woman inzal first, then the child will look like the mother, right? But we'll do a bit of explanation of that when just now when we look at the shara. وَإِذَا سَبَقَ مَاءُ الْمَرْأَةِ, and when the water of the woman precedes the water of the man, نَزَعَتْ, that her water will pull the child towards her in resemblance, right? So the moment he hears this, he says, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأنك رسول الله. He said, look here, I'm happy that you have satisfactorily answered my questions. Hence, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Rasulullah, and that you are the Prophet of Allah. Then he says, yeah, Ya Rasulullah, innal Yahuda qawmun buhtun. Buht means like there are people that will slander me, people that they will level all type of accusations against me, and they will discredit me, right? Right. So it says, وَإِن يَعْلَمُوا بِإِسْلَامِي, if they know about my Islam, مِنْ قَبْلِ أَن تَسْأَلَهُم, before you ask them anything, right? يَبْهَتُونَنِي, they will level all type of false accusations against me, right? So you put carry on. So what he's saying is that if you ask them, right, about me before they know, they will say nice things. But the moment they hear about that I have abandoned the Jewish religion and I've become a Muslim, you see, they will start saying all negative things about me, right? Carry on. So فجاء Yahud, the Yahud came, right? فقال أي رجل عبد الله بن Salam. What type of a person is Abdullah? You tell us. He's like a, he's a scholar from amongst you. Tell us about him. He's an honorable person. He's a righteous person. Give us some type of introduction to his personality, etc. Carry on. Yeah, subhanallah. So you see, look here. خيرنا, he's the best of us. وابن خيرنا, he's the son of the best from amongst us, right? وسيدنا, he's our leader, has leadership qualities. وابن سيدنا, he's the son of our leader. Carry on. Right. So now it says, أَرَأَيْتُمْ, tell me, in Aslama Abdullah ibn Salam. Now tell us, if Abdullah ibn Salam accepted Islam, right? Then tell me now, what you think if he abandoned the religion of your forefathers, right? Just change the page, please. Right. So they ask him now, أَرَأَيْتُمْ مِنْ أَسْلَمَ Abdullah ibn Salam. Tell us, if this Abdullah ibn Salam, you're saying such a good person, he's got such a good reputation. Tell us if he accepts Islam. This is أَعَاذَهُ اللَّهُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. May Allah Ta'ala protect him from that. Right? فخ... Carry on. Right. فخرج عبد الله came and فقال أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله. I bear witness that there is no God except Allah Ta'ala and that Muhammad is his messenger. See how the thing changed. Right? They said, so all of a sudden now they said, he's the worst person from amongst us. He is the worst person from amongst us. Sorry. Right? He's the worst. So before he accepted Islam, he was the best person, right? But all of a sudden, I accept Islam. All of a sudden, in a matter of seconds, he changed to the worst person, right? Right. فَانْتَقَصُوهُ. You can say they character assassinate him, right? They said, you see, هذا الذي كنت أخافه هذا الذي كنت أخافه. This is what I feared, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rawahul Bukhari, Imam Bukhari narrates this. So see, the interesting thing is that they, when they praised him, they were not sincere in his praising for him. Because if they were sincere in his praising for him, no matter what choice he made with regards to his religion, they would still respect him. But just because he accepted Islam, he became the worst person. So that is what we see happening. Okay, before I come to that person, let's look at. I will just expand a little bit on that also a little. But let's look at the let's look at the explanation of the hadith. So Abdullah ibn Salam saying, I want to ask you certain things that only a Nabi of Allah Ta'ala, an ordinary person, will not know it. And if so in other words, these are things, this is knowledge that is not readily available. Only a person who is divinely inspired, only a person that is divinely assisted, he will know this. And I told you, most probably, you know, it, in the previous scriptures, it was mentioned that the Nabi will come and he is able to answer these questions, then that is the sign he's a true Nabi. Are you with me? So yes, clearly mentioned that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not answer these questions out of his own. These questions he answered based upon wahi. That's why he said that if you look at the hadith, he says there, أخبرني بهن جبرائيل آنفا. The Jibreel, I mean, answered me this now, right? Then I did tell you this here. أول أشراط الساعة doesn't refer to what we normally refer to as the signs of Qiyamah. Like we told you, the first sign of Qiyamah was the advent of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This referred to like the first happening of Qiyamah, and that you done in detail. That how you can say so. The right correction, the right word or the understanding, mashru'atul qiyamah. Awalu mashru'atil qiyamati. What is the first thing that will happen? That when people are come out of the grave, they will be now driven to a fire will drive them to the place of Hashr, right? Right. Then the next thing is ziyadatu kabidi hutin. Ziyadatu kabidi hutin, the extra portion. And it's mentioned also that this will be made into a beautiful, tasty salan, gravy, right? Gujarati say servo, ne? And this will be a taste. It will be like maybe it was like a ultra delicacy, like how you get caviar and all that type of things, fish eggs, all that. So this will be a delicacy that will be fed to the people of Jannah. So I was telling you that. So that was the second question. The third question: why sometimes the child resembles the father, sometimes the child resembles the mother. Now, if you look at it technically, every child they carry the genes of both the father and the mother, right? That we know science. I don't know if you've done biology. We do biology, matric biology. We've done it. So that's why if they test you, they can see, that you are the son or the daughter of such and such a person, or the father. So you carry the genes of both. You carry the genes of both your parents, right? But why sometimes one child has more resembles maybe with regards to your complexion, with regards to your features, maybe with regards to your build, with regards to your structure, etc., etc. So before we look at that, there's something I want to tell you. So many times in the Quran and the Hadith, there are references to medical facts. There are references to scientific facts, etc., etc. Right now, obviously, before the advancement of medicine, uh, we just accepted that, right? Now, with the advancement of medicine, many of the medical prophecies, facts that are mentioned in the Quran, it is borne out by science. It is borne out by science. So something that never makes sense, maybe 100 years ago, 120 years ago, today it makes sense, right? So the point I want to make before you carry on, something that never makes sense 120 years ago, today it makes sense. So if something doesn't make sense today, why can't it make sense tomorrow or in 10 years' time or 50 years' time with the advancement of medicine? Remember, Wahi is a conclusive knowledge that comes from Allah Ta'ala. But anything else, whether it is medicine, whether it is science, whether it is astrology, it, this is it is by trial and error. What is this? By trial and error. As they go along, they learning something. Sometimes they make a statement, and then as time progresses, they find out that the statement is not true. Then they reject and they come to a new statement, etc. But if you look at our Sharia, if you look at the Quran, if you look at the Wahi, there's no such thing. We don't say that this verse meant this. Tomorrow we come, no, I don't think it meant this. I mean that. And then next week we come, I don't think it means this. It means that. So many times in medicine, this medicine is beneficial for you. But tomorrow they come and tell you, no, this medicine, science show this is harmful. It is not good. You should have a bed. So that is what we tell trial and error. They tried, and then they come to some type of facts. So it's trial and error. What is it? It is trial and error. Well, whilst, uh, as I said, the wahi, it's not true trial and error. It comes from the Khaliqul Kainat, from the creator of the verse. So what never makes sense yesterday makes sense today. What doesn't make sense today, it will very well make sense tomorrow. This, if you just read, if you read about how little man knows about the function of the brain, they said man don't even know 5% of, maybe with regards to the other organs. They made advancement, they understand a little bit how the heart works, how the kidneys work, etc. But with regards to the brain, the neutrons in this, they don't even know 5 to 10% how the brain works. That's how far they're behind in understanding the function of the brain. That's how far they're behind in understanding the function of the brain. يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. They only so this discussion I gave you now, this preamble I gave you, if you keep this in mind whenever you come to something with regard to facts, figures of the dunya that's mentioned in the Quran and the Hadith, if you understand it, it will help you. And right, that if outwardly it seems contradictory, if outwardly it seems like it's not making sense, are you with me? Anyway, let's look at the zahir of the Hadith. What the Hadith is saying, that we know when there's a husband-wife relationship, then there's a liquid that comes from both the man and there's a liquid that comes from both the woman, right? We discuss this in detail in our Hidayah, etc. Although sometimes mentioned there, maybe it is not so often, it's not so common that the liquid of the woman comes out, etc. But here he's saying the liquid that comes first, the resemblance will be according to that parent. Are you with me? And the one that is overpowered, that will be, you can say, the dominated genes in the child. So yeah, Mullah Ali Qari says, yeah, if you look at the words of the hadith, it speaks about Allah. What it says? That means غلبة. إذا سبك ماء الرجل مع المرأة نزع الولد وإذا سبك ماء المرأة نزع الولد. So it means the sabak comes in the meaning of Allah and ghalaba. Sabaka comes in the meaning of whoever's water is more, right? So one explanation is Allah wa ghalaba. When does something overpower another thing? When it's more, right? Generally, when it's more. So Mullah Ali Qari says when the water of the man is more, then the child resembles the father. When the water of the mother is more, it resembles the mother. Although Shah Muhaddis Delvi in his Ash'atul Lam'at, he says no, sabaqa, keep sabaqa in the meaning of sabaqa. So whichever water reaches the egg first, the egg which is fertilized in the pregnancy. Remember, we did discuss this before, like how we say a man has ejaculate, a woman also has ejaculate, right? Whoever's ejaculate reach first, that is who the child will resemble, right? That we take sabaqa in the meaning of to precede, right? So here, the Sharih, the kitab I'm using, he says if you look at technically, there's no difference. Overpowering, we're saying the one is overpower and one is precedes the same thing. Normally, what precedes another thing overpowers it. It comes at the end of the day, comes to the same thing, right? So I told you, from a scientific point of view, I'm not sure, but as I said, something doesn't make sense today. From a medical point of view, it make sense tomorrow. And we've been born out with this many times, right? Okay, so that's the end of that one. The next one is, remember, yeah, he said, Qawmi buhtun. Buhtun, this is interesting. See, buhtun is with a dhamma on the ha, right? Buhtun and a sakin, a dhamma on the ba, sorry, a dhamma on the ba and a sakin on the ha. And there's a jama of buhutun. Like, and this comes on the scale of mubalagha. Like you get wasabirun, wasaburun. Sabur means sabir, a person who exercise patience, and sab exercise a great deal amount of patience, right? So since you can in the buhutun, right? They level a lot of false accusations. So he's saying that if I accept Islam, they're gonna slander me. I told you he was a great scholar from amongst the Jews. In fact, there is mentioned also he was a hafiz of the Torah. And I thought here it's mentioned there's a bit more detail as opposed to the hadith. When the message spread that look, the Nabi Sallallahu will be arriving in Medina shortly, he's on his way. He went out to work in his fields and he told his servant, look here, when information came that the Prophet is close by, you must tell me. I want to go meet him. And yes, mentioned, in fact, he was on a tree. He was busy on a tree, maybe harvesting the fruit from the tree when his servant came and said that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is close, close. And he was so excited that he almost fell out of the tree. He was so overcome with awe that he almost fell out of the tree. Interesting thing here is mentioned that when he saw the face of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, Wallahi ma hadha biwajhi kazzabin. Without even answering the questions, He just saw the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, Wallahi ma hadha biwaji kadhabin. This innocent, pure face, beautiful face, this can't be the face of a liar. You know, you get some people, they have that innocent look on their face. And if somebody tell you, hey, this guy done this thing, you say, no man, this guy, I don't think he can do this. Impossible he can do this here. So he had this innocent face. So his face was good enough. You know, I mentioned to you before that Nabi Sallallahu had many beautiful characteristics. Né? And Allah Ta'ala make it as such that these special servants of Allah Ta'ala, He always gives some of them some of those characteristics. Like I told you before, that Nabi Sallallahu had this characteristic that you'd make each one feel special. Each one thought that he is the special Sahabi, that Nabi Sallallahu loves him, etc. Each one, that was his way. You know, you get also in this dunya, you get people, they make everyone feel special. Each one feel that now I'm the favorite of this person here, right? So this was also one of the sunnahs of Rasulullah. So ulama mentioned Hazrat Mulana Masrullah Khan Sahib of Jalalabad. This was his salient teacher, that he would make all his people feel special. Each one would think that I am the favorite of my sheikh, I'm the favorite of my ustad. But anyway, the point one out to make with you is the Nabi Sallallahu had this face. Now there was a scholar, Maulana Shah Anwar Kashmiri. He was from Kashmir. You know the people of Kashmir are very fair, they're very handsome. I don't know if you've ever seen Kashmiri. You ever seen a Kashmiri in your life? So the point I want to make here is he was also one of the first students or the second students of Darul Umm Deoband after Darul Umm Deoband was established, and he went on to become a teacher there. And then in the latter part of his life, he spent a great deal of his energy fighting the Qadianis, you know, exposing the fallacy of the Qadianis, the Ahmadis. You know, they claim that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was a prophet after Rasulullah. But anyway, the point I want to make is that a Hindu person saw his face. A Hindu person saw his face, and just by seeing his face, he accepted Islam also. He said, and he was, as I told you, he was very fair, he was very handsome. There was some pictures on the internet, one day of me, you can see fair, handsome person. And he said, and I asked him, how you accept Islam? He said, this can't be the face of a liar. This face is so pure. This face is so innocent. When I look at his face, I just knew that this face must be on the truth. This face was on the haq. So I was telling you, Allah Ta'ala blesses his special servants with one sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If you look at all our seniors that were pious, you know, they made effort, you see they always have one outstanding sunnah in their life. They always have one outstanding sunnah in their life, obviously they have all the sunnahs. I mean, obviously they can't be a pious servant if they don't have the sunnah of Allah Ta'ala in their life. Remember the one student of Malik spent how many years? I always was Hassan Basri. I spent so many years in the company. I never see you performing anything extraordinary, any miracle. He said, you spent 10 years in the company. Did you ever see me doing anything contrary to Sunnah in my life? He said, I never see you doing anything contrary to Sunnah. You know, what greater miracle is that? What greater miracle can it be that? But every action, the way I eat, the way I sleep, the way I speak to people, it's all according to Sunnah. What is greater than that? Can be nothing greater than that. The greatest thing in this dunya is what? Is to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah. So there's nothing better than that. There's not the greatest accomplishment is that your life must be in line with the sunnah of Rasulullah. So you say, you want anything more than that? So when you want to judge anybody, you want to see if this person is Rijalullah, is a person of Allah Ta'ala, you must just look to what extent does that person have the sunnah of Rasulullah in his life. To the extent that he has the sunnah of Rasulullah in his life, to that extent, you know, he is a Rajul, he's a person. Anyways, I was telling you that if you look at all the pious people, you see each one they have all the sunnahs, but they have one outstanding sunnah in their life, which has this great resemblance what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Mashan or Kashmiri, he had this outstanding quality that he had this pure innocent look on his face that people would just see him and they would accept Islam. So here, Abdullah ibn Salam, when he saw Rasulullah, he didn't ask him the questions for formality's sake, but he's already impressed when he saw the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I was just telling you this here, Abdullah ibn Salam said, if you study the Quran and you study the Hadith and you see the qualities of the Jews that they have, Wallahi al-Azim, they have the exact same qualities today. He says here, 1 minute he was the best person. 1 minute he was the best person. And the next minute when they had accepted Islam, what happened? He was the worst person under the sun. So just, if you look at if you study politics today, you can't understand why the Western world, why America in particular, is under the control. It is at the behest of the Israelis. They have created, they have, they have, they set up what they call honey traps for these people. They get them involved in wrong things. They get them involved in, um, haram activities, illicit sex, etc. And then they record this type of things, and then they use this against them. I don't know if you follow the news. The thing about Jeffrey Epstein. They say that most of the politicians in America, he had them involved in all illicit sex and all that type of thing, and he had all this recorded. And this is the reason why America today is under the control of AIPAC, the Jewish lobby. They manipulate them. If you do not play our game, you do not assist us against the Palestinians, you do not assist us against Iran, etc., etc., we will expose you. So see the same story, same tactic from before. Anyway, we stop the time is up. We have to switch over to the phone.